This week on League of Learning, I'm going to be talking about Aspect of the Dragon. Now, at the beginning of the season, Dragon became a stacking buff designed as an alternative win condition for teams. If you get 5 dragons, you become so powerful that victory is all but assured. Now, of 951 games across the NALCS, EULCS, LCK, and the LMS, 123 of them have had a team achieve 5 dragons. Now, of those games, that team lost 13 times. Meaning in 13 out of 951 games, a team's achieved 5 dragons and lost. This is about those games. First, I want to just refresh what Dragon does. 6% attack damage and ability power for the first buff. Every buff after that gives you a different power-up. And the final buff, Aspect of the Dragon, the 5 dragons, doubles all your bonuses and gives you an incredibly powerful amount of true damage on your attack. So obviously, 5 dragons, immensely powerful. No region is immune to losing with 5 dragons either. This is the win-loss breakdown by region of teams winning with 5 dragons versus losing with 5 dragons. As you can see, the total, 120 wins versus 13 losses, roughly an 89% win percentage, so very, very high. Continuing on, though, I wanted to compare games in which a team won with 5 dragons versus when they lose with 5 dragons. Unsurprisingly, the game length is much longer if a team loses because the game has been drawn out. So 54 minutes and 39 seconds, the average game length for these games. Also, a very important thing is the enemy is able to pick up on average 2 dragons and 1.5 barons when they are beating a team with 5 dragons. Now, I looked actually pretty in depth at the 13 games in which the upset happened and found some trends. There is some loss conditions that can be met if a team is going to get 5 dragons and still lose the game. Most importantly, probably, it's allowing the opponent to pick up dragons and barons. They get the power-ups from some of the dragon buffs, they get the gold from baron, and most importantly, it helps them stall out the game. Continuing on, if you give up too much gold for the dragons, that can lead to a defeat. If you're a poke comp or against a poke comp and full-on team fights aren't happening, sometimes the dragon advantage really doesn't help you because team fights are being won before they begin. And also, Dragon gives you no defensive statistics whatsoever, so if you're making positional mistakes late game, you can still be punished, and that was the case in some of these losses. So break it down a bit more, specifically the first one. For teams that are 5 dragons to 0, they were an alarming 63-2, but just 1 dragon for the opponent, and that record changes to 34-5. As an example of how much you can get out of that 1 dragon late game, a recent 5 dragon upset came Jatt versus SK Telecom. That 6% AP and AD gave them nearly 2,500 gold in stats, which allowed them to be competitive with SKT's 5 dragon buff, also due to their team composition. Moving on as well, if you give up too much gold for your 5 dragons, these are the 4 games where I think that happened. Specifically looking at SK versus Elements, that was a 13,000 gold lead. It was miraculous that Elements was able to get the dragons, but they never really had control of the game. The other one where it stands out the most was the Assassin Snipers versus Hong Kong Esports in the LMS. One of the most ridiculous games. There was actually a 12,000 gold lead for the Assassin Snipers when the other team got 5 dragons. So that obviously didn't lead to an easy victory. Also, poke comps. Jin Air Green Wings are super known for their poke compositions. So early on in the spring split, they had a couple of 5 dragon games and they were on both sides of it. Obviously the game got super long, the gold was incredibly close, so teams are at max items. And since they weren't having full-on team fights and fights were being decided essentially before they were fights, the 5 dragons didn't have too big of an impact on who would win, so it happened both sides on that way. And also, there's 2 AP Kog'Maw games. They're also the only 2 games in which a team didn't pick up a single dragon and still beat a team with 5 dragons. That's due to the power of AP Kog'Maw. I thought that was pretty cool. Moving on to the last way the teams can lose with 5 dragons, it's if they're against a hyper-scaling opponent, which is the case in both of these LCK games, Jatt versus SKT and KT Roaster versus the Crew Tigers, or you can just make some strange misplays or get caught out of position late game, which happened in the bottom 3. So, there you have it. While losing with 5 dragons is an infrequent occurrence, it's fascinating to me the ways in which the dragon buff can be defeated. You draw out the game, keep up your farm, sneak objectives, and stay calm in the late game. 5 dragons is possible to beat, even if it only happens in 1.37% of games. That'll do it for League of Learning. I hope you learned something.